Hello, my friends. Happy Halloween and welcome to episode 175 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Pasquale Berry.
And I am Claudio Spera. Welcome to the show, everyone.
The theme of our Halloween special this year are shocking moments in KISStory. And speaking of shocking, we are pleased to announce the return of our recurring panel guest, Craig Patton. After 10 months, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thanks, I'm proud to be back.
And of course, we are joined by a regular panel guest, Patrick de Montigny. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me.
Nice to see you guys. So welcome back. And Craig, again, so as Paz was saying, you've been away from the show for almost a year. And nice to have you back, buddy. It's nice to see you.
Thanks, man. It's good to be back.
And, you know, I think we all agree that things have been really, really slow in the Kiss world lately. But Craig, how have you been keeping the memory of Kiss alive? If so, or did you check out? What did you do?
I checked out for a little bit after the last shows in New York there.
Okay.
I needed to take a break and refocus on other things. But the story, like, it's I'm keeping it alive. Basically, I've been off for the last 6 weeks with a foot injury, and it gave me some free time to look back and at the heydays and nostalgia part of it, and you know, and go through some old magazines. That's what I did. I relived the band by looking at some really old 70s vintage magazines, comic book, rereading all that stuff. And I got a couple of things here. I've been trying to get these collections of Kiss buttons. I got these from a friend who works at a flea market. This one's really neat. I don't know if you see it there, but
there you go.
You know, it's a vintage one.
Nice.
So,
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So I've been getting small little things like that, little trinkets to bring back the memory and bring back the heyday and where I was at that point in time, and you know. So basically, that's how I got back into it and relived for me, it's always been vintage as well as Pat. So yeah. So that's basically how I relived it all.
Okay, nice. Makes you feel younger, right?
Yeah, since I turned 60 this year, it's like, boy, at least 45 of my years I've been a devoted Kiss fan, and
there you go.
And let's see what the future brings.
Yeah, sometimes we need a break. Huh? So I think we always talk, you know, with Pasc even more after December the 2nd, and with the band not touring anymore. Yeah, sometimes we need a little bit of fresh air, eh?
No, for sure. But I'm back full fold.
There you go. Nice to see you again, man.
Thanks, guys.
Nice. And also, I want to take this opportunity to let our listeners know that Craig will be joining the rotation along with Rollo Brown, Kurt Town, Eric Meta, and Michael Bornasian.
So, like Paz said, our topic this Halloween season is shocking moments in KISStory. So, but before we dive into our topic, so let's go through our panel and look at one shocking moment in our personal KISStory. Craig, you have the floor, my friend. On to you.
Yeah, well, there's been so many shocking moments over my lifetime of a Kiss fan. I think for me, one of the most shocking ones was getting tickets for the Creatures of the Night tour in Montreal. And, you know, the picture showed Ace Frehley, and all of a sudden the show starts, and I'm like, hey, who's this guy? That was like, okay, I didn't even know that he was going to be in the band at that concert. So that was a major shock for me. And still don't know really how I feel about that. It's for me, it's always been like the original four, and seeing him up there, and then it's like, okay, well, it's different, but not the same, right? That's one of them for me, definitely. And I think that's one of the biggest ones, biggest like moment, you know?
Right. Wow moment. Okay. Pat, what about you?
Well, Craig kind of beat me to it. It was the same thing because the way they handled
really, that is
excuse me, the way they handled the whole thing. You had no internet back in those days, so I thought the way the band and everything it was being held, it was being taken care of was kind of weird. I found out day of the show, not at the actual show. somebody who was a big Kiss fan like me in school said, "Oh, you know, Ace is not going to be there." And I was like, "What are you talking about? Who's going to be there?" He says, "This other guy." And sure enough, that's what you're at the show and you see the T-shirt and you go, "Okay, that's not Ace, so that's another guy." So that was a shocking moment. Also, I think finding out later on that Peter did not play on Dynasty. I knew that on Mass, but then when they confirmed that Dynasty also, like, oh, okay, so this had been going on for quite a while. So that was a shocking one for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Basque, what about you?
This is a bit of a tough one, but I'm going to talk about the first one that came to mind, because once this one came to mind, so many others came to my mind as well. And has nothing to do necessarily with the band itself, but during the Monster Tour, I followed them around for 8 shows in Canada and in the US. So what I did was at each of these shows, I took pictures of the fans and I sent them to Keith LaRue to put on Kiss Online. And if you remember, there was a time when Kiss was on tour, you always saw fan pictures at every show on Kiss Online. So I thought, well, let me give it a shot. Let me take pictures of the fans and send them to Keith. And he put them on every single time. So for 8 shows, my pictures of the fans were on Kiss Online. But that isn't a shocking moment. My last show, I saw them in Mohegan Sun. Was it Mohegan Sun? And that was with Anthony Loro. Remember the Kiss Cruise Maniacs?
Yeah.
He had a huge banner, and he managed to basically get into the venue to take a picture with the banner, with the Kiss Cruise Maniacs in front of their huge banner in front of the stage. And Keith was there because Keith is the one that got him in. So we took the picture, and Keith pulls me aside and goes, "Pasquale, come here. Keith, what's up?" And he gives me a wristband. I go, "What's this?" It's a meet and greet to take a picture with the boys. I go, "What?" "Yeah, here's a meet and greet." I go, "Why?" "For all the work you did, all the pictures you took, all the work. I was having a blast. I took pictures because I wanted to, because I wanted to celebrate the Kiss Army. And here you are giving me a meet and greet." And that was my first meet and greet at a concert with the band.
Oh, wow.
So the wow moment was, getting that wristband from Keith. Keith, man, thank you so much. But then I remember like waiting in line in anticipation, and just as you're turning the corner, you sort of get a glimpse of the boys in front of the screen taking the pictures and go, "Oh my God, that's them in full makeup." And it was such an incredible experience.
Wow.
So as a Kiss fan, that was definitely a huge wow moment for me.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
Nice.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Well, in my case, I wasn't actually as fortunate as you guys, because I couldn't leave, Kiss in the 70s, or see them live, or being exposed to a lot of vinyls and magazines. But I do remember clearly that there's a couple of shocking moments. But to me, the first time I was exposed to the Alive 2 gatefold there with the booklet. Of course, back in Argentina, we didn't have a lot of material like you guys here in Canada and the US. So opening up, I remember that gatefold and seeing that image and the 4 faces there. That's something that I will never forget as long as I'm alive. And another shocking moment that I think it's worth mentioning is when there was the reunion tour in '96. I never knew that Kiss was going to last, for 50 years. So I said, I have to see the original 4. So I came all the way to New York. But the shocking moment, besides the shows, was going to the loft. So going to the loft, I swear to God, guys, that I was walking up the stairs and, remembering the pictures of the 4 of them, there, with those, breaks on the wall, and I could feel, the ghosts there. I don't know, man, if I'm crazy or what, but being there was something actually that I will never forget.
Nice. You actually walked in?
Yeah, I walked in. Yeah.
How'd you get in?
Well, there was a guy who was the janitor there. At that time, there were not so many people going there, right? So now it's very well known and it's really, really strict. And I remember there was a comic store, in the first floor, I think. And I asked the guy, "Hey, this is where Kiss used to rehearse and the love." He said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just go up and ask." Jose was the guy who was in charge there, and he will show you up. And that's what happened. So I said, I'm coming from Argentina, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, yeah, yeah, come ahead, and then he opened the door and he showed me it was empty. So that was unbelievable, man. I'm telling you, that was, but I couldn't take any pictures at that time. There was,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Oh man, very cool stories, guys. Thank you.
Nice.
Okay. So now to continue with the show. So I asked each person on this panel to come up with 10 shocking moments in history. So from all of our choices, we decided on 5 key shock moments in the band's history. So Claudio, get us started with our first shocking moment.
Okay, so the first shocking moment in history has to be their entry into the New York scene back in 1973. So guys, can you imagine what it must have been like seeing Kiss when they first appeared on the scene? Patrick, tell us about that.
Oh man, it probably would have been something really like, because you see the, how can I say, the genesis of Kiss, ha ha ha, play with words, but that's what it is. And can you imagine being there? Because like by the time I became a fan, they had been around for 4 or 5 years. So, but I remember in the same way seeing the Motley Crue Shout at the Devil Lad, like here's a brand new band. So I would have loved to see them at that time, and especially what Kiss was doing. Shock rock was already around, but I think they took it to the extreme, and I think that's why they had such a backlash at first, saying, "Oh, those guys can't play" or anything like that. So just the mystique of the whole thing in the early days, you can only imagine what it could have been to witness that. So yeah, they were a shock, because also by the time the bands were not really visuals.
Yeah.
Aside from Alice Cooper, maybe David Bowie, those people. But aside from that, I think Kiss was pretty much what took it to the extreme, and I would have loved to see them play in a club. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Craig, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with 100% with Pat, and I think he cheated off my homework, but I think that definitely a huge shock rock moment, and the hype and the disbelief of just the era, right? That who are these guys with these makeup on? Like Pat was saying, the only thing you saw before of that was Alice Cooper or David Bowie or um other bands that had gimmicky stuff, right? It was a huge gimmick for these guys to do that, and the guts to do that, and to stay up and stand up for themselves, and to stand up for what they believe in was pretty amazing. I mean, like I didn't turn on to Kiss until basically I saw them on Paul Lynde special, Halloween special. I seen them live and stuff. And then looking back at the old pictures, I'm like, they're walking down the street with their costumes on and stuff, and people are just giving them the evil eye, like, what are these guys all about, right?
Yeah.
But it must have been a special time, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. Pask.
I think it's easy to look back and go, oh my God, it must have been incredible to see them back in the day. And like Pat was saying, the whole mystique, the danger that the band represented. But I remember when I got into Kiss was about 1976. I was really into the Destroyer era.
Mhm.
And I remember looking back at their old catalog, the first 3 albums, and I didn't like it. I found it was too heavy for my taste. I liked the Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun era, So I'm wondering if, at that time, if I actually experienced Kiss when they first came out, would it have been too much of a shock for me that maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed it? I don't think as a young kid I was ready for that. But becoming a fan later on, and it took me a while to get the first 3 albums, that I enjoy the first 3 albums. But then looking back now, it's like we mentioned in the previous episode, I would love to travel back in time and, live the remaining years of my life in the early 70s. That would be incredible,
Oh, yeah.
But at the time, I think maybe it's too shocking. I could understand how people go, what on earth is this? And it's no different than what happened with the Beatles. When it's something so revolutionary like that, so different, we're not ready for something like that. It takes a certain kind of person to be like a pioneer,
Right.
to really accept something like that. And I got to be honest, I don't think I'm that person, or I would have been that person if I was introduced to KISS that early.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting, because I'm thinking as you speak, and yeah, you're right. In my case, I got into KISS back in 1979, with the return of KISS and all these colorful, costumes and stuff. And then as I started to revisit, the previous stuff and the beginnings of the band, that was really shocking to me. But now I know at 55, and remember past when we had the chance to talk to Tony Mann or to Rick Fox, who were there, at the inception of the band, seeing them at the commentary and the loft and everything. I think that Pat he kind of summarized with the word mystique. There's some magic there, and this they were so raw, so real. To me, that was the real KISS before all the production came on board, and it became a huge company. But oh man, I remember when we had those episodes, Pask, I was flying, man. I couldn't. I was just fantasizing, being there, watching them at when they were so innocent at that time, because they were dangerous, but they were so green, So I would have loved to see this band not so well produced as they were after, but oh my God, to me the early KISS, it has some special thing there that you cannot compare to anything else.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So listen, guys, although we may not have seen the writing on the wall at the time, the leaving of Peter and then Ace was definitely a shocking moment in history. I mean, it shook the very foundation of the band for the rest of their existence, sending sort of like a ripple effect of other shocking moments in their history. So let's talk about that. How do you think their shocking departure sent a ripple effect throughout history? Claudio, we'll start with you.
Well, it had that's the right word. It had a ripple effect that it changed the band's, history forever. Being the original four, with those iconic faces and personas, then I think it became a different band. I personally I didn't experience Peter's departure as a very shocking moment, because it was right after a year that I had known about KISS. So to me, having Eric in was kind of new, and something new. I wasn't so attached to Peter at that time, but yeah, absolutely, it had to me it took away a little bit of the fantasy that they were all kind of a family, and they were friends, and and they were gonna be together forever. I remember looking at the cover of the solo albums, where they basically dedicated the album to the other three. And I was thinking, wow, man, so why this departure? And but then, of course, as time goes by and you start to learn more about what happened, it made sense. But again, coming back to your question, it had a huge ripple effect on KISStory, definitely.
Okay, Pat, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think just like it made us realize that, just like any other band, KISS, almost no band survives intact. So it did destroy the illusion, like Claudia was saying, that they were so unified, and that's the impression they wanted to give. But it wasn't the case. And unlike the Beatles, they didn't separate. Gene and Paul just decided to go ahead. And so, yeah, and I think, how can I say that? I think they had a problem with their identity after that. It's like, okay, where do we go now? And you can say, yeah, but Peter didn't contribute this much material and things like that. Nobody was part of the original chemistry that made it work. So changing an element, yeah, it did have an impact. I always say that when Eric arrived, Kiss was a pop band, not because of him. It was already in place. And it, with the release of The Elder and everything, you could tell it was a confused time for the band. Mm-hmm. Took them a few records to get back on track, and even then, after the makeup came off, they still got lost again. So there was no real unity there. So with Peter leaving, that's the domino effect, and then Ace leaving, and
yeah,
here you got a band that is led by the two main guys, and whoever comes in on drums, or that's what it became. Not until I think Revenge that Kiss became a solid unit again. So it did have an effect, yes, for sure.
Okay. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, hardcore fans were definitely really shocked. To me, they cannot be replaced. It's this that sound and charisma of that time, right? They'll always be compared to the old days. Um, the glory years, right? But nothing to take away from Tommy and Eric, and I mean,
Bruce,
they did a fantastic job, I mean, and nothing to take away from them, and musically inclined, I think they're probably a little bit better, but it's just that what they brought to the band was, and in those days we didn't get the information like readily available like we're getting now. So the way you found out was you picked up a magazine on the shelf, 16 or a Hit Parade or whatever. You open it up. Chris leaves Kiss. Huh? Oh, okay. And then you sat there, for me anyway, it was like, oh wow. It's like a member of your family leaving your house,
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I took it. That's the way I felt about it. And then when Ace had left later on, and we didn't really find out until the Creatures tour. And it's just like, for me, it's a member of the family leaving that can't be replaced, right? And this different dimensions and different aspects of the band will not be the same. So, but later years with the reunion and stuff, and the old hang-ups, and they started coming back and stuff, but at least we got to see that again for one last time. And as they say, the legend is true and stuff like that, and to show my kids and stuff that this is what it was really like, and like that.
Yeah. Listen, no disrespect towards Tommy or Eric, of course. And people often make the argument, well, Tommy and Eric are now in the band, and they've been in the band longer than Peter and Ace have. They've been wearing the makeup longer than them. Yeah, but you know what? They could have been wearing it for 20 years, 30, 40 years. They wouldn't have had the impact, not even close, that Ace and Peter had with the band, the original band. And it's interesting because when Peter and Ace left, they took their fans. So Ace took his fans and Peter took his fans, and fans were like connected to Peter and Ace, but at the same time still connected to Kiss. So in a sense, them leaving broadened the Kiss fan base, because more people got to know Peter, more people got to know Ace, and in doing that, got to know Kiss. So their fan base became bigger. And the only reason Kiss survived the 80s was on their legacy of that original band. And that legacy could only last so long. And you saw it after Revenge. Their time was limited. Their days were numbered. We know this, right? And then with the reunion tour, everything just exploded again. You saw the magic of the band, and they were number one again. And then it was that legacy that continued to band for the next 20 years or so, up to now. So people ask, how did the band survive? It's because of the original four back in the 70s and back in 96. No denying what Ace and Peter brought to the band. But in terms of shocking, listen, I was like that kid. I get a toy. Oh, cool. Then I see something else that's bright and shiny, and I go towards that. And that's what happened when Peter left. Like I liked Peter, but he wasn't my favorite member of the band at the time. And when he left, it's like, oh, a new guy, Eric Carr. I wanted to learn more about him. I had, in a sense, a shiny new toy,
a new character,
discover, right?
Right.
So it didn't bother me. And by the time Ace left, I'd already checked out. So I didn't care. I didn't care either way. So to me, as a fan, it wasn't shocking. But I could imagine to the hardcores who stuck
yeah.
by them from day one.
Right.
How shocking it must have been.
Yeah. I think that if we were in our, let's say, 20s when that happened, and you grow up with the original lineup, and see them from the very beginning, and not only seeing some of the members leave, but the change in direction for the music and all the stuff, it must have been shocking for them. It was a good reason for them to check out for sure, or maybe explore something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So another obvious and shocking and very sad moment in KISStory was the passing of Eric Carr. So what did Eric contribute to KISStory? And like the leaving of Peter and Ace, how has his passing sent a shocking ripple effect throughout KISStory? Pasc, this time I'm going to start with you.
I was back in the fold in the late 80s. I got to know Eric Carr. I got to see him live. And it's like, oh my God, what an incredible drummer. I mean, I saw Peter Criss live 10 years prior. And it's like, to me, it's like, man, this guy could rock up there, So, and it's sort of like, it continued where I left off. I got to discover Eric Carr in the 80s, but then I checked out. Then when I checked back in again, I just continued where I left off, and my fandom for Eric continued to grow. I was a huge Eric Carr fan, and I was looking forward to seeing so much more, to seeing where this guy is going to take this band, and then unfortunately he passed away. Oh my God, it was gut-wrenching. It was gut-wrenching. You want a shock that's absolutely a shock. It's like I can't believe this happened. I remember when Michael Jackson died, it was all over the internet. I go, no, this is a joke. No, there's no way. No way. This is a lie. And I'm not even a big Michael Jackson fan, and that hit me hard. Eric Carr? I can't express how difficult that was. And unfortunately, you didn't see much of that in the press. But as a KISS fan, and at that point I was a diehard again. Yes, it was definitely gut-wrenching. Now, did it have a ripple effect throughout KISStory? Oh my God, we're still talking about Eric Carr right now. Yeah. So Loretta continues to keep his memory alive through selling his merch and through promoting the amazing man that he was. For a man who wasn't part of the original four. And his legacy is still with us. And he's still in our thoughts. That's a huge accomplishment. And you could imagine what he could have done in the band if he didn't pass away.
Right.
He would have been legendary. He would have been legendary.
Yeah. Craig, what do you think?
Yeah, very much what Pasc was saying. And for me, Eric Carr is Creatures of the Night. I mean, when that album came out, that sound, that double bass drum, he brought that heavy edge that I think they were looking for. And unfortunately, like Pax was saying, when he passed, it was overshadowed by a member of Queen that passed at the same time. So he didn't get the due respect. I think it was just a footnote, and I'm really unfortunate with that. Also, I think he brought a fresh and a new sound to the band, a more heavier approach. And I was lucky enough to meet him in '85 at Rock on Stock when I got the autographs and for the Lick It Up tour. And you know what? He took time to talk to the people, and that's one of the things that always sat out with me. Even though I was upset that Peter had left and such, but he seemed such a personable guy, and it seemed like a guy that would be in the background and just be content on making the band work, right? It was no drama. There was no I want this, I want that. No, it was just there in the background, and basically he made the band continue on. I think without a guy like that new approach, that new sound, I think it would have been maybe a little bit harder for KISS to continue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But kudos to the man, and rest in peace.
Patrick?
I think Eric Carr has that he always apparently had this huge cloud over his head saying, I'm not an original member. But I gotta say, to me, he's the first non-original member, and he has that stigma because of that.
Yeah.
Meaning that, okay, KISS went on, and he joined where KISS was still pretty much big news. It was dying, but it was still big news. So he did have that. He's the most popular non-original member, at least. I mean, he joined when it was still happening. By the time Vinny came in, I'm sorry to say, I don't think anyone cared. Not because of Vinny, but no one cared about KISS that much. Eric, when he went to Australia, he was really popular over there.
Mm.
He was huge over there. So I think for that reason, he does have his place in KISStory. I think the Unmasked tour turned out to be what it was because of the novelty of him being a new guy. But I agree with Craig. He came out on his own around Creatures, and he had a guitarist to match his skills. Say what you like about Vinny, but he did have talent and a more modern sound at the time. I think Eric and Vinny had brought, like a brand new flesh of life, like breath of fresh air into KISS. Whether we like Ace and Peter or not, that's the truth. And I think it's unfortunate because I think after Lick It Up, Eric, his role diminished and he was being overshadowed by Gene and Paul taking, being the main guys. And that's understandable because they were the founding members. Mm-hmm. But as time went on, his contribution became less and less, and he became more invisible, I find. And I don't think he would have been in KISS had he lived anyways. From what I read in Paul's book and from what I was able to, I draw my own conclusion that he wouldn't be in a band anyways, which is unfortunate. But that being said, Eric did have this stigma of being the first non-original and was very popular nonetheless.
You guys, you covered basically everything. And, just to add a couple of comments here, his contribution musically to the band, it's undeniable. But I think what he brought to KISS, it's basically a lovable person, that I cannot imagine anyone better than Eric Carr to replace Peter Criss. Of course, now that the KISStory has been written, we know that he was the best guy with the fans and everything. But just think of this. He brought, as you said, the Pat, a breath of fresh air, and he made KISS more approachable. Having those two egos, two huge egos like Gene and Paul, and then with the continuous change in the guitar players, he was the guy there, that he was always there for the fans, taking care that the fans got what they wanted. And again, I agree with Craig here. To me, the Creatures of the Night has his name, stamped all over the map. I think he was a bit lost maybe in the non-makeup era. I was really, really happy to, we always talk about this, the Hot in the Shade tour. That was fantastic to me. And then it was so unfortunate that, he passed away right after. But, to me, it's, he will always be, the fifth member of KISS. To me, he comes before all of the others in terms of, charm and love, as a member of KISS. And, it's a real shame that we lost him, so young. But, he's still part of the family, and I'm glad that, Loretta and everybody, keeps, releasing stuff and making Eric, as if he were alive, So, but so rest in peace, as you said before, Craig.
The fifth member of KISS, so true. I think Eric is as close as Peter and Ace in terms of the legacy he left for the band.
Did you notice that in 50 years KISStory, there's all kinds of debates, within the KISS Army, so whether if it's, Eric Singer wearing the makeup of Peter and Tommy and Bruce and Vinny, but nobody says anything wrong, anything bad about Eric Carr. Eric Carr, he's part of the big foundation, and you cannot say anything bad about the guy. He's always been there, and full of love and full of music, and very innocent, and not so intoxicated by the music business. He was still a rocker, as we all dream to be.
Right, and you're right. This is more than just respect for Eric because he passed. No, he gave so much to the fans. He gave so much of himself to the fans. Every time we talk to fans who met Eric, they say glowing things about him.
That's right.
They make you feel like you're a friend.
Yeah.
We don't forget things like that.
No. And you know what? Just to wrap up, something that I forgot to mention. To me, it is really shocking what happened to me, to Eric. But I don't know if it's true or not, because I don't think we know the whole truth about this. To me, what's more shocking is the way he was treated, within the KISS camp when he was sick. And, there's all kinds of theories flying around. There's people who doesn't want to say what really happened. But I think we all know really what was behind the scenes. To me, that's even more shocking than his passing, basically.
Yeah. But I think Paul mentioned in an interview how much he regrets what happened during that time.
Yeah.
Okay, so listen, we could be doing a 5-part series on shocking moments in KISStory. There's so many. But I think for the purposes of this episode, we can't ignore the next shocking moment. And I think that moment is the first announcement of the KISS cruise. Now, I think that announcement had more to do with the effect on KISS fandom than it did on the band itself. I think how we experience KISS was different as a fan. Having the opportunity to meet fans from around the world in one place and experience KISS with the band there was something that was truly shocking to the KISS community. So how do you guys think KISS Cruise changed how fans experienced KISS? Greg?
Well, listen, I was fortunate to go on KISS Cruise 5, and for me, the draw was the accessibility of meeting the band members, right? It was, and all the KISS themed activities and such, and sharing with, like you said, many people throughout the world that you've seen online or whatever, but now you meet in person. And I think that we never really had that up until then, until maybe the KISS conventions where they were a little bit more accessible. But I mean, it's an experience you cannot miss. It's something that I'll cherish till the day I die, is that I was actually able to go on one and share that experience with great friends and such. And it's just to meet your larger than life heroes up close like that, and doing regular everyday things, cooking classes, guitar pick throwing, judging, or whatever the case may be, but doing regular people things, right? And I think that that was a great experience for me.
Yeah. Pat, you never went on the KISS cruise, but how do you feel about the KISS cruise being announced? What went through your mind?
I was disappointed I couldn't go, but on the other hand, it kind of reminds me of the feeling of the official KISS convention, where you're, like in the case of the convention, it was a 12-hour day. For people like us, it was just like, okay, give me even more. So from what I was able to gather from the cruise, I think that's pretty much what you're getting, because there's some sort of I don't like to use the word spirituality or whatever, but there seems to be a connection between KISS fans. We have this common bond, and you can only find those at KISS events. And now the cruise being done by the band, it's pretty hard to beat. I mean, you try to put on conventions or things like that, you're going to get that connection, but once the band is there, well, can't top that. So who knows what's going to happen if they keep doing the cruise or they redo them, or at some point might want to check them out at least once, just to experience not just the Kiss thing, but the camaraderie as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Claudio, how about you?
Well, I think that if I go back to the question, how do you think that the Kiss Cruise changed? A huge impact on how Kiss fans experience the band. And I think that I remember when they first announced it, I thought it was a crazy idea. I didn't think that it was gonna succeed. And but I remember as the cruise started, and we were getting some news from people that were there, and they were playing obscure songs, and the Sail Away show and all this stuff. And I wanted so bad to be there that, I couldn't believe it that I was not part of that. And you know what I think? I think that the Kiss Cruise extended Kiss's life, because if you count on it, Kiss hasn't been changing the set list, too much over the last 20 years, okay? So they were playing the same thing over and over again, tour after tour, but every Kiss fan was expecting the announcement of the next Kiss Cruise. And that was a very savvy move, I have to say, very good move, knowing that it had a lot of success. And I went to number 3 and 4, and then I had the pleasure to share with you, Pask, number 11, and I cannot think of any other event that it's so enriching, just to meet up with Kiss friends. And if it weren't because of the Kiss Cruise, I hadn't met a lot of people. I could have never met a lot of people. So huge impact. So to me, that's a very shocking moment, and I really hope it's going to continue, because that's an event that you cannot miss.
Oftentimes you hear from Kiss Online the next big announcement. We're going, yeah, whatever. It's always disappointing. But when they announced Kiss Cruise, that was truly shocking. And I knew the minute that I was announced that I had to be a part of that. And I remember at that time for Kiss Cruise 1, we had to buy tickets in June. Now, at the time, we had a principal in our school who was leaving, and him and I were like, we were at odds with each other. So I couldn't ask him. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna book the trip, and I'm gonna take a chance and ask the new principal that comes in September if I can go. And if it's a no, I lose all that money and I don't go. If it's a yes, hey, it paid off. I remember, man, day one of this principal coming into the office, I walk in and I said, can I go on the Kiss Cruise? But, I already booked my flights and my tickets. And she went and she held back. She goes, oh my God, how can you do that? She freaked out on me. So mad at me. And then we had a staff meeting, and she mentioned in front of the entire staff, you cannot book a trip before you ask permission for it. Everybody turns around and looks at me. And she pretty much told me, listen, I'm going to think about it, but if I say no and you go, fill in the blanks. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I took that chance, and thank God she let me go. But that was the chance I took to have this experience. And at the time, I was a huge Kiss fan. But with the Kiss Cruise, it shot my fandom through the stratosphere.
Right.
Because then we started to have Kiss Cruise groups.
Right.
We had the Kiss Cruisers, the Kiss Cruise Maniacs, and we started talking with people from around the world. And that was the first time we were doing that. It was new. And I met so many people online because of the Kiss Cruise.
The pre-parties too, all the stuff.
Yeah. It's all a result of the Kiss Cruise. And there was the Kiss Maniacs pre-party, the Hard Rock pre-party, getting on the ship for the first time. Mm-hmm. And at the time, it wasn't sold out. So when you got your package, some people had a surprise in their package for a second ticket. And I was one of them. And I screamed like a madman when I had 3 tickets to a second show on the cruise. and It was, I gotta say, Kiss Cruise, I've been to 4, but Kiss Cruise 1 was by far the greatest experience of my life. Nothing will ever top that. It was completely new. No one knew what to expect. The band didn't know what to expect. I don't know if you guys know this, but on the last day, the band left the ship. We docked, they took a helicopter, and they left. So on the final day of the Kiss Cruise, there was no Kiss there.
Okay.
You know, they did their thing and that's it, because they had no idea what to expect. So they thought, we'll do our thing and then we're going to leave. And they realized on that ship, like, wow, this is really, really something special. And it's like we met so many people, and it's like we knew everybody on the ship. It's like walking down the street, seeing a guy with a kisser going, hey, you're part of the family. Now you're on the boat with all these people. And meeting people from Spain, from Italy, from Germany. We don't speak the same language, but we speak the Kiss language. No, I'm sorry, nothing will ever compare. I mean, I still feel like I'm there. I still remember those moments, like I was there yesterday.
Yeah.
I will never forget it, and nothing will freaking top that.
That's right. Well, that's the meaning of shocking, right? So you will never forget that. Absolutely.
Just talking about it now, it's like it brings back so much memory.
Exactly.
Like, oh my God, I just loved it.
And on the set list too, some of the songs they played, and you know, even if they buggered them up, who cares, man? It's a new take, it's a new song, it's wow, you know, I never heard this live before, you know.
And seeing them in such a small venue. My God.
That too. Yeah. You know, we're getting closer to the end of the show, but now, so choosing the 5th and final shocking moment from our long list was really, really hard. But I think a totally monumental event in KISStory had to be the airing of the MTV Unplugged. So that show clearly changed everything. So my question is, how was MTV Unplugged a game changer, Pat?
It was a game changer in many ways. First of all, that it did really prove that Kiss was about the music first and foremost, because you cannot have a more stripped down version of Kiss. And which hardcore fan doesn't like to listen to Unplugged? And also the shocking moment to me, because yes, it was great seeing Ace and Peter, and I will get into that in a minute, but the shining star on this one, I always maintain, is Bruce. He played those complicated solos on the acoustic guitar, and he pulled it off. I mean, I always say he's the unsung hero of that night. So that's another game changer. It's like, okay, well, Bruce is the man. Now, get to the last part where Ace and Peter show up. It was a game changer because I don't know if you guys noticed, but when Peter comes up to the front to sing that after they played 2000 Man, you hear the crowd, Kiss, 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 loud and clear. I wonder how Bruce and Eric felt about that, by the way. You know, I feel for them. But this was a clear message. This is the Kiss people want to see, regardless of all the drama, So it was a game changer, and it was a catalyst of. I think we were not behind the scenes, but I think it was Gene and Paul testing the waters to see how people would react and how they could work with Peter and Ace again. So that was the game changer, and of course, 6 months later, when we see them appear, the 4 of them, in full gear at the American Music Awards. So that was a game changer for sure. But aside from that, I say that Unplugged does have a moment of its own in history.
Yeah, true. Very well said. Craig?
Yeah, pretty much what I was saying too. But seeing them acoustically in those days it's a really a proof to the testament that they are great musicians too, right? It's not just the hype and the glamour and the glitz. It's also the music, which it's kind of showcases, and I'm totally agreeing with Pat with that Bruce statement. I mean, he pulled it off, and he did great jobs in the '80s too. Don't get me wrong, and I forgot to mention him before, but I think that he was a great member of the band also. Getting back together, seeing them with Ace and Peter, and was like, wow, that's gave me a fuzzy feeling, seeing them back together, and like he was saying that that's what the fans were craving. This is what they wanted, right? And I think that was a start of like he was saying, started the reunion. I mean, this was a test to see if this is what they could work with the guys, and to see if they could um, see if the magic was still there. And also, I think it's a different look in the music, right? It's the same. It's not heavy plugged in. It's toned down, and I mean, a lot of those songs I find better versions on acoustic than they are in the original versions, such as
Coming
coming
home, right?
World Without Heroes, and songs like that are just like wow,
See you tonight,
See You Tonight, yeah,
wow.
exactly, yeah. And if you watch the unedited full version of that, there's a lot of they take takes on songs like 7, 8 times, and to be a fly on the wall in that theater when they were filming that must have been spectacular.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ask.
Oh, I remember that moment clearly. And when I had checked out from the band, they were in a downward spiral. When I checked back in, they weren't at the top of the world at that time, But I stuck with them. Man, but when Unplugged came out with the original four, it's like, okay, this is Kiss at the top of the world again. And as I remember it, at the time, I was engaged. I believe I was still, yes, I was in university. I was finishing off my second degree, and I had so much studying to do. It's like I'm studying this Saturday night. And a friend of mine went to pick up my girlfriend, my fiance, came over to my mom's place, my place, and we put on MTV Unplugged. And I got to watch it with my fiance and my friends, and they weren't big Kiss fans, but they did it for me because they wanted me to have a little bit of a break from all that studying.
Mm-hmm.
So I welcomed that break. Like it was, wow, I needed that break. But watching MTV Unplugged with my fiance and my friends, and I was in total awe as I was watching it. And when Paul and Gene says the magic was back, you could feel the magic through the screen.
Yeah.
When Ace and Peter came on and played with the band again, how happy Peter was to play with the band. You were talking about earlier, Claudio. The mystery of we want to believe that they were a unity, they were a family. At MTV Unplugged, it felt like they were one. They were a family, and it was so freaking special. And they played acoustic before this, right? At the '95 convention. So in a sense, it was a practice for this. But we got like you said, Pat, a deeper appreciation for their music when we hear it acoustically. And some of the songs they played, it's one of the best set lists I've ever heard live. Try topping that. And then when Bruce and Eric played with Ace and Peter and everybody, and when Eric and Peter were in sync with the drumming, oh my God, that was so cool. The amount of talent on that stage was second to none. There was a recent interview with Bruce saying that Paul and Gene often undermine their talent, their musicianship. They're much better than they say they are, because they always focus on the look. They don't focus on the music. And this show was all about the music, all about bringing back the magic. And it was just an incredible experience. And every time I watch it, even now, it brings me back to my old bedroom at my mom's place with my fiance and my friends watching the show. I was on the floor, like my jaw was just
you
on
go
the
back
floor.
in time.
Oh
That's
my
right.
God. Not many things could do that, but this show definitely could. It continues to do so.
Absolutely, it does. It does. That's what I wanted to say. Actually, you guys, there's not much that I can add because I fully agree with you. But it's it sounds so fresh. It's like I don't know. It has some magic, that album, that no other album has. And if you were to ask me, so which show in KISStory would you have loved to be in? And that's the one. To me, being there, man, I cannot imagine what must have been. You know, it's unbelievable. I remember, there was a record store in Buenos Aires who was bringing, VHSs and vinyls and stuff. And I remember leaving out from work and stopping by this place just to grab my copy of the Unplugged on VHS. And I knew that Peter and Ace were there, so basically I kind of fast forward, the stuff
Cheater.
to get to Beth. And that's right. When they say, we have some members of the family, and then they kind of kick in when they play Beth. I was in tears, man. I will never forget that, because it was like, that's Kiss, again. And they were so happy, as you said before. They seem to be, so cool with each other. And yeah, it's amazing, man. And if you go back to what you were saying, Pask, you were saying that everything it's of course, thanks to originals and to the original lineup. If there was no reunion, maybe we couldn't have had Kiss today. But if we hadn't had MTV Unplugged, there was no reunion, right? So it's everything has a reason to be, and I think that was the perfect test that things could work. But what an amazing show! I agree with Pat. It has a life on its own. It's not only part of a sequel of events, but it's in my top 5 albums from Kiss, no doubt. It's amazing music, amazing musicianship.
Yeah.
No, when Ace and Peter auditioned for the band, Paul and Gene recognized that there's magic when the four of them are together. And that magic was evident in the early 70s. It was evident during MTV Unplugged. And you know what? I'm going to dare say that magic has always been there, always will be. But what destroyed it are their egos.
Yeah.
Their egos enveloped that magic, that sense of family. Yeah. And if they put their egos aside, that magic would still have been there.
Man, can you imagine what could have been just to have a little bit of 5 minutes of that magic at Madison Square Garden, man? Oh. Only 5 minutes, man, and that's it.
Even at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the four of them were there, but the magic wasn't there.
I don't get it, how they missed that opportunity.
You felt the animosity there on stage. It was like, no, that was awful. That was awful. That was definitely no magic like a MTV. But again,
sitting at different tables, weren't they?
Yeah. That was evident that the magic was gone there. But I don't want to say it was gone. It wasn't gone. It was enveloped in ego. Yeah. I think it will always be there.
Yeah.
So guys, before we get enveloped by the darkness of the night, because it is Halloween, what are some of your more honorable mentions of shocking moments in KISStory? Claudio.
Well, I'm going to go fast. I think I mentioned some of those. Being exposed to the Kiss Alive cover, that was a shocking moment to me. There's no doubt. Of course, meeting the members of the band, when I met Paul in '94, and then, meeting Ace with you, Pask, that was another shocking moment in my personal KISStory. The Loft, I mentioned, meeting Peter in London, Ontario. That was a hell of a trip, actually unbelievable. And I remember getting my first Argentinian magazine back in the 80s, when we didn't have anything there, so we didn't have access to magazines from the US and stuff. And a group of fans, they got together just to create a fanzine, and having access to that was something that it was really shocking. I will never forget. And then, of course, seeing I Was Made for Loving You on TV for the first time ever. So that's how I knew about Kiss.
Right. Okay, cool. Pat?
One of the shocking ones I forgot about was when I went to Detroit in 1994, where Peter Criss was a special guest, and Gina Ball showing up to pick up the costumes that were on display.
Right, right.
Totally unexpected. And being a typical Kiss fan going, wait a minute, I'm in the same room as 3 of the original 4 guys.
Right.
So that was a shocker, and also, yeah, meeting them at different times. It's always like you have the wow moment. You have it right in front of you. And I remember being in Peter's tour bus after the Bad Boys tour, and he's signing my stuff, and I go, wait a minute. This is the 4th time I'm meeting this guy, and it's like, that's the guy on the Alive 2 album cover that I have right in front of me. You know, you have those thoughts that come into your head while you're living the moment. Also shocking seeing them without the makeup when they officially drop the makeup, lick it up cover, and having people in high school, man, did you see the new album cover? No, I'm not close to the mall like you are, so I'm only going to see it this weekend. And people, you know, that's the drawback. Oh, man, I saw the album there without makeup. Okay, I get it. Shut up. You know?
I don't want to know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, those are the ones that come to mind that are fun and
Nice.
yeah.
Cool. Craig?
For me, one of my most memories was meeting the band members. Thanks to you, Pascal, I was able to meet Gene one-on-one twice, and that was a very moment that I'll never forget in my life. And meeting him in '85 at the Lick It Up signing session, that was another one. And just basically having other people that love the band as much as you do, and how you just connect right away, whatever religion, whatever the case may be, it didn't matter. It's Kiss.
No, you guys mentioned your personal histories. I've got so many. We could be here all night, you know. But one of them that comes to mind regarding, you know, the band's history, and like I said earlier, you know, if I was around in '73 and Kiss first came on the scene, I'm not sure I'd be ready for that. I think the shock would be too much. And I remember when Eric Singer, sorry, put on Peter's makeup.
Okay.
And I wasn't shocked by that. I thought, no freaking way. What's going on here? How is he wearing Peter's makeup? I hated the idea. First of all, I'm sorry. At the time, I think he looked ridiculous in the makeup. And then he made it more his own. He looked better as time went on. But I did not accept the fact that he put on that makeup. That was a shocking moment, and it was way too shocking. But then when Tommy put on the Ace makeup, I know it's sacrilegious. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, Pat. But when Tommy put on the makeup for the symphony show, I thought, oh my God, he looks really good as the spaceman. And that's when I got it. That's when I saw that, okay, it's not about the individual members, you know, Gene, Peter, Paul, and Ace. It's about the personas, and the personas look amazing as a unit. That's when I understood it. But I could understand how fans have an issue with that because they haven't gotten over the shock of Eric and Tommy putting on that makeup. And like me, I was also in shock. I also didn't accept it at first. But as time went on, as the shock wore off, it's like, I get what they're doing. And it's like, thank God that they did, because we got over 20 more years of Kiss. And I will forever be grateful and thankful to Tommy and Eric for continuing the legacy of the band and allowing us to enjoy the band. And can you imagine the number of fans they acquired in those 20 years that they wouldn't have if Tommy and Eric weren't around? You know,
Second generation.
Exactly.
Oh, that was great, guys. So you know, it's you know, it's such a boost of beautiful energy. You know, being here with you guys and discussing all these you know, shocking moments. You know, personal and what we think they are. You know, shocking moments in history. That was a hell of a great time, Pat and Craig. Craig, again, you know, nice to see you, buddy. And come here more often, please.
Yeah,
And
no problem.
it's been amazing, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Guys, I often hear on other podcasts, oftentimes the members of the other podcasts are from around the country. They never see each other personally very often. And when they do, it's something special. We see each other all the time in person. We live close to each other, right? But when the four of us get together on the show, it's like MTV Unplugged. Something special.
That's right.
Something special happens.
True.
Something
The
different
magic.
happens. It's
Definitely.
magic.
The magic
right?
is back.
It's not like the way we see each other in person. Something different happens here, and it is a fantastic experience. And I guess I want to end the show by saying that, in a sense, this podcast is also quite shocking to me. That we've been around for over 40 years. We've been interviewing so many amazing guests, had so many amazing fan profiles, have met and made new friends because of this podcast, have gained the respect of KISS fans and podcasters, which I thought I could never do this. And I still think I can't do this. But I don't care, because I'm having fun doing it, because I'm having fun doing it with you guys. It is truly a special time to be on this show. And every time we're on, it's special to me. And especially because of you guys and everybody that we have on the show. So guys, thank you so much. So to the KISS Army, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please send it to talktome@KissArmyNationPodcast.com. Until the next time, happy Halloween, be safe, and remember, never stop rocking. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and X. You can watch us on YouTube or listen to us on Podomatic, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. This is about you, so please like and subscribe to support the amazing guests we have on the show. See you soon, KISS Army.